We're continuing to highlight National Breastfeeding Month with a new study authored by a University of Pittsburgh professor, and we are joined by that author and professor, Dr. Timothy Hand, as well as Jill Wilson of the Breastfeeding Center of Pittsburgh, sticking around for this important conversation. So Dr. Hand, let's start with you here. Your study focuses specifically on antibodies in breast milk, so tell us about your research and what you found.
Right, so we got interested in looking at breast milk because it can be so important for the health of an infant, and particularly the health of preterm infants, these sort of very delicate infants born before term. And it was important to us to understand the variability or the differences between the antibodies between different mothers, because that could make a difference in the types of bacteria that grow in their intestine. And what we actually discovered was what is probably no surprise to anyone, is that the antibodies in each mother are very different. People live different lives. They have very different experiences in terms of their microbiome, what kinds of infections they get, so they're very different. The surprise we found was that these antibodies were incredibly stable over time. So different between each mother, but then each mother seems to maintain their antibodies for a long period of time, and that was a bit of a surprise.
It's really interesting. And so how did you test out this study? Was it just analyzing breast milk from different mothers? How many mothers did you look at?
Right, so over the course of the entire study so far, I think we've looked at about 200 mothers. We have a lot more mothers now going through the lab now, so I would say maybe up to 250. And really no two mothers have looked the same, and that's been sort of really interesting to see.
We've talked about the condition NEC before when we did a study with the milk bank here in Pittsburgh, but explain what it is for people who don't know about it and why it can be so deadly to infants.
Right, so NEC or necrotizing enterocolitis is a disease of preterm infants where these children are really born before their intestine is ready to do what we're asking them to do. So their intestine's not really ready to digest food, and it's not really ready to be colonized by the microbiome, right? These bacteria that live in your intestine throughout your entire life. And as a result, those bacteria can invade their intestine and cause an immune response, which then leads the intestine almost to sort of die very quickly, which is a very serious condition for the infant.
And you were talking before, Jill, about the benefits of breastfeeding and some of these things, how it can help babies. You read over the study yourself.
Yeah,
what did you think?
I mean, I think it's great research. I think it would be really helpful if we had using it as prenatal education. So if we had a mom who had a history of preterm labor or at risk for preterm labor, this study might be beneficial for her. That way she would know I should breastfeed because it could help my baby.
Yeah, and checking too. So do moms, they don't know if they have this antibody to help their babies in this specific
Right, and I want to be clear about this. You're never going to know what antibodies you have in your breast milk unless we've run you through our study, and everyone in the study is anonymized, so we would never know. So there's no way to know, right? And so what I would say is in the future maybe we can identify the antibodies that are most protective, and we could have them at the ready so that if an infant needed them, we could add them in to the milk as a supplement. But for now, the studies have been very clear, right? For these most at-risk infants, these very delicate infants, breast milk is a very important way to avoid NEC and other illnesses of preterm infants.
And what's next in your research? What do you plan to do next with this? You said more moms are coming through.
Right. So we love the work we do with the Mid-Atlantic Mother's Milk Bank here in Pittsburgh. But what we're really trying to do is sort of diversify the group of donors that we have in our studies. Really ask, what we found was true of the set of mothers here in Pittsburgh, but maybe if we started looking further afield, we'd find different things. So we're collecting, mothers from Arkansas, Spain, hoping to get mothers with different kinds of diseases, and so that would be really fascinating.
Widen up that group.
Yeah.
And what do you think about opening this up too and having more, do you ever have moms who come in who have this ample supply and want to donate?
Oh yeah, all the time. We get calls directly to the Breastfeeding Center, can I donate milk to you guys?
Yeah.
And we're not to us, but please call the milk bank because they definitely could use it.
They could use it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for coming on and for your hard work and your research. We really appreciate it. Can't wait to see what happens next with it.
Thanks so much.
Well, we'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.